People. Hi, real people. Real people, if you could be seated. Hello, internet people. We're having a beach party here. Sorry you couldn't be here. We're going to have beach volleyball later. We have got a full breakfast buffet, breakfast cocktails, everything you might want at a real in-person meeting. So welcome back to WFAHA. We haven't been together since February of 2020. This group, in case anybody's not familiar, has been meeting since April or May of 2012. We skipped about 14 months, but I'm seeing a picture of Steve, so I'm not sure if we're, okay. Okay, so today Steve is going to talk to us a little bit about how the world has changed and what things might look like going forward. So if anybody here in person needs to use the restroom, the door is open and you're welcome to go back there, grab food, have a seat, settle in. But I'm going to introduce now Sissy Nickel, who is Executive Operations Officer, to tell us a little bit about where you are. We thank them for hosting us, and here she is.
Good morning, everybody. We're so glad that you guys are able to join us this morning for WFAHA. We're so grateful to be able to host the very first one back in person. And wow, it's such a big difference, isn't it, to be back together again? So it's good to see everybody in person. Hunters Woods at Trails Edge is a retirement community. We're over a year old. We have independent living on this side and assisted living, memory care, and enhanced care over on this side. We have 210 apartment suites. And we are going to be offering tours after WFAHA if anybody is interested. Parween, would you raise your hand? Yeah, no, you got to pull. Ashley, I think Riley may not still be here, but Riley, so the three of them will be, and Sherry will be offering tours afterwards if anybody'd like to take a look around and see what makes us different and special. And then I would like to go ahead and introduce Steve Gurney. He is the publisher of Pro Aging, a guru of all things long-term care and retirement. And he has, I'm sure, a lot of great information to share with everybody today. So let's give him a big round of applause.
All right, well, thank you. I always hate it when I get introduced and somebody says I have a lot of great information because it may or may not be that great. And honestly, if I can today, if I can just sort of plant the seeds for some good discussion for the rest of the day for you guys, that's my main goal. And where's Sandra Fields at? There she is. Okay. I just like to point out the reason I'm here is because Sandra said you're coming here and you're going to tell us what's going on. Okay. So it's always a lot of pressure because everybody in this room, you guys all have information. And so just use my comments today as a starting point and we can make this interactive. The other thing that I'm kind of psyched about is that we don't have many people online, but we've got, I think, 6 people online. And one thing that I'm real excited about is to figure out how can we do meetings like this live and and online. And because we've all woken up that morning and realize I'm not going to get in my car and spend an hour and go to this meeting, but if I could jump online and have some kind of experience, that would be great. So we'll see. I think it's going to take 3 or 4 months, but hopefully by the fall, I'll have it dialed in and we're going to really be able to utilize this stuff. Yeah. This right. Oh, this, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's me and my, post-gender, whatever, but I'm babbling here. Yeah. Oh, thanks. Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay, cool. Well, you may think different after today, but I appreciate that we can have the compliments in the beginning. So I looked at, every year, Sandra has asked me to do a talk, at the beginning of the year on kind of like, what are some trends? What are the new developments that are out there? What's going on? And so I went back and looked, the last one was over a year ago. I went and looked at a few of those. So what I'm doing today is similar to what I did those years before. So hopefully it's not going to disappoint you. I didn't get too many rotten eggs thrown at me over the years. So what I'm going to do today is we'll do a quick 2020 recap on kind of what the heck has happened in the last year, some lessons that we learned. I'm going to talk a little bit about online meetings. And what's interesting, how we call, like I was calling online meetings and stuff, calling them virtual. It's sort of like, and somebody corrected me one day and they said, they're not virtual. These are real meetings we're having. They're online. Okay. And I was like, really just in aging, the words we use make a huge difference, And so that's one that I've sort of tried to bring into my vernacular, that we're meeting online. We're not meeting virtual. This is a real meeting. It just is in a different place. And then what everybody always likes to hear is, what are the new senior housing developments that are out there? What's going on? I'm sure I've missed a few, but I'll go down the list that I know about. And then last, but I hope that we can kind of keep it going throughout this whole discussion, is just let's have an open discussion on kind of what the future is like. This is just amazing that we're here gathering in person and have the opportunity to talk and brainstorm. So let's see what my first slide is here. Okay, so this is talk about 2020. And one of the first online meetings that we did featured Dr. Bill Thomas. Or no, it didn't feature Dr. Bill Thomas. So Kate Caldwell, I'll get into the history of us moving our meetings from live to online. But one of the catalysts was, there was this one day I got a call from Kate Caldwell, and I think it was another aging life care manager. They both said, what are we going to do without live meetings? And I was like, oh boy, if aging life care managers need a solution, they're my number one customer. What they want is what I deliver. And so I was like, I got to figure this out. And so I started doing a few Zoom calls, and then Kate said, did you listen to this podcast with Dr. Bill Thomas? And it was like right at the beginning of the pandemic, and they were asking him his opinion on everything that was going on. And I love the way that he described what's going on. This is back in, April of 2020. He said, basically what's happened is we had a board game, and somebody just threw it up in the air. It landed upside down and the pieces are everywhere. That is what the pandemic did to senior living. And I thought that was an excellent analogy. But to take it to the next step, and how many of you guys have kids okay, so kids, just like adults, some of us have the type of kid that when the game board gets thrown upside down and the pieces are everywhere, they take the game board and they flip it up, they keep it upside down, and they make a new game out of the pieces, okay? Now, others of our kids and others in this room are like, oh my God, I got to get that game board right back again, and I got to get the pieces all in perfect the way they used to be. That's the way it's got to happen, And I think this last year has been an exercise for all of us, whether we're on the outside the box way of thinking, where I'm just going to reinvent a new game, or we got to get back. We've all become much more adaptable to what happens when change hits us with a left hook, and how do we react, and how do we move forward? And that's gonna stick with us for the rest of our lives. It's gonna be amazing that as professionals, as leaders, as parents, we're gonna be much more resilient. And that's one of the positive things about this radical change that's occurred, that I think is that's gonna be great. And if we have any crisis that occurs down the road, our organizations are going to be able to adapt a lot better. So let's talk about what some of those changes were. And these are just a few, and I'd be curious if you guys have some more things to add to this list. But the things that when I reflect on what really hit us with the left hook in our field, the first was the headlines specifically about nursing homes, okay? Because let's face it, is there anybody that works in a nursing home in the room right now? Nobody, okay? But the general public, if John Q. Public came here and looked at this room, he'd say, oh, it's a bunch of people that work in nursing homes. No matter what you are providing, the public, I always make the assumption that the public thinks that you're working in a nursing home. This is a nursing home. The Hunters Woods Fellowship House, independent living, that's the nursing home up at Hunters Woods, you know? And if you make that assumption that the public thinks that where we are working in the nursing home, our job is to educate them on all the awesome things that are out there. But the downside is they read the New York Times headlines about this horrible stuff that's going on in the nursing homes, and all of a sudden we are carnage to all of that. And I think it's going to take years for this to be erased from people's minds. So the nursing home headlines were devastating. The good thing is there were some really good stories that were out there, and many of you in the audience were a part of that. You know, the cherry pickers that are singing songs to people, you know, outside the windows at communities, the families rallying together, the creative ways that we are working with families and providers, the fact that the hospitality industry got hit with just even a harder hook than we did. I mean, they lost revenue. At least we're able to keep our residents in the homes, in our communities, and our clients paying rent. Hotels were empty, but we've been hiring in our field a lot of hospitality people, and that's a wonderful thing. Okay, so we got the nursing home headlines, the quarantines. You know, I mean, that was horrible this past year, and the families, you know, just being devastated because they can't see mom and dad were hard. I mean, it's so funny. None of us ever heard, except for those of you that are in healthcare settings, I never heard the term PPE. I never knew what personal protective equipment was. And now it's in our vernacular, and a whole, I mean, you know, you talk about the, if you were a guy, you know, sitting out there getting masks made and selling them to a few hospitals here and there, you know, now you're out there driving a Mercedes-Benz, and you're really, you know, this tragedy was really good for that segment of the industry. And there's lots of segments of the industry that have benefited from the horrible things that have happened. But the PPE, you know, is another thing that radical change from 2020. The no family visits, I mean, I think we've all heard this. And I think those of you who are in senior living communities, you know, you had the family members that's like, oh, that's I'm pulling mom out. We're going to take care of mom in our house. And that didn't always work out that well. But we're gonna get to some of the positives here. And now, all of us in this room, what gave us a real left hook? No face-to-face marketing anymore. And I know many of you counted on meetings like this, you know, to get your personal incentives, to get your leads, to fill your communities, to get your clients. I mean, you know, back in the day, I remember when these meetings started, and, you know, Sunrise, anybody from Sunrise in the audience today? I remember when Sunrise would incentivize their sales reps, you know, on the amount of business cards that they could gather in a month, you know, and these meetings were an awesome way to do that. And now that's gone. And how the heck are we going to do this? But we figured it out, you know, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Now, the last thing on the list, the thing that I think is probably one of the worst things that happened to our field, but one of the best things that happened to our field is, let's face it, our field of aging services is one of the slowest tech adoption fields out there. Most of us in this room, if we work for senior living companies, we don't have the best, fastest computers. We're lucky if we've got a computer, okay? I know many of the marketing people are doing the marketing things on their personal computer at home, okay? our clients, the residents of our buildings, were not necessarily utilizing tech to the extent that they could. And the things, if you look back pre-pandemic, the things that we were excited about in terms of technology, that we might have like a kiosk or something like, what's the company name? It's Never Too Late or something like that. You know, you had a computer in the computer center and people could do brain games on it, you know, but in terms of connecting the community and being able to communicate with your family and loved ones and the staff on an iPad in your room, that was almost non-existent before COVID. And now most of us have it, and it happened rapid fire. And thank goodness it did, because I'll share a story. I got a good friend of mine. Her mom is up in a nursing home in Maryland. And whenever I see her, she's just devastated that she can't hug her mom. And I have to remind her that before COVID, she would only see her mom like every 2 or 3 weeks. But now she got her mom an iPad and she's talking to her 5 times a day, you know? And I sort of have to remind her, okay, a hug every 2 or 3 weeks, or these deep conversations with your mom 2 or 3 times a day. The beauty of COVID is now when people move into communities, when people are receiving home care in their homes, they're going to be interacting with their family and their loved ones more than we were before COVID. And that's a good change. And I guarantee it would have taken us 10 years to get to the point where we are now, because we didn't have to have it, you know, it's like, but we had to do it. So we adapted. So here's some of the great things that happened. I know I mentioned a few things that happened with all that tragedy that I just talked about. Is number one, first and foremost, amazing staff. All of you in this room, you know, you're in this field and you've, you know, got through this challenging time and had to figure things out and do things differently. And that's great. And the team members that you have in your buildings, they've done a great job, and they've had to make a lot of changes. And again, talking about the kid that likes to, you know, when the board flips upside down and trying to get the pieces back together, I know that a lot of people in organizations don't like change, you know, and they want those pieces lined up. They want people telling them what to do. But what COVID has done is it's brought leaders to the surface. It's the ones that can adapt, the ones that are willing to do things differently, expand their job opportunity until things get back to normal. Those are the ones that are going to be the leaders of the future, and that's exciting. And, you know, think about all the testing protocols and the PPE and all that type of stuff. Like, we had to figure all that stuff out. Remember when everybody's trying to outsource, you know, calling China, trying to figure out where to get PPE. But then, like, I think many of you were probably on one of the early webinars we did at Knollwood down in DC, and which is a military senior living community. And they basically took with an admiral at the helm, and he basically said, COVID is the enemy. We are blocking out COVID. And they literally sort of ran their testing operation like it was a military operation, keeping COVID out there. And that was cool. And it was probably inspiring to others to sort of think differently. Like I said earlier, we're never going back to slow tech. This field, our profession, is going to keep on moving forward with using technology. And that's a good thing for you guys as employees, is because, you know, before, when you had to, you know, bug your boss to get an updated iPad or iPhone or a new bit of technology, it was probably kind of challenging because we're a hugging field. We're person to person. But now I think it's opened our eyes up to how technology can help bridge that gap and enable us to be closer to many people, as opposed to, you can only hug one person at a time. I know some of you guys are really good at doing it 3 or 4 at a time, but the other thing that I like, understanding isolation. The general public, okay, so the general public, yeah, they still think everything's a nursing home. But the thing that I really like is the general public knows what it's like to live an isolated lifestyle now. You see, all of us in this room, before COVID, we had the freedom to jump in our car and go to the bar and meet with our friends, go to the country club, do whatever, you know. And now it's sort of like everybody was sort of living in their little mini assisted living community. You know, you get up, you go to this room, you stay in that room all day, and you get all excited about what's for dinner tonight. And you might be lucky if you can walk around the block with your dog. And so we all got a little taste of what it's like to be isolated and living in a small environment. And that's good, because what that does is it creates empathy. It creates empathy for the family members who come in and they expect, you know, grand ideas when mom moves in here. You know, it's balancing that, but it's also, it helps us as well. And it helps us sort of realize, it's like, look, I know there's lots of people in the audience that support aging in place. But now we've got a taste of what that's like, aging in place and being alone at home, or even forget alone, you're just there with 2 or 3 kids, you know, and how isolating that can be. So now when we're caring for our elders at home, understanding that I've got to be creative, I got to provide some engagement activities for my clients. I got to think outside the box. And now we all know how to connect online. Okay. Whew. I'm going to shut up real quick. That was my sort of talk about what happened in 2020 and some ideas on a positive spin on that. Any thoughts or questions? And now I'm going to kind of move, and then I'm going to move to online meetings and us having online meetings and stuff. Sound good? Okay. All right. Good. Okay. So again, getting back to when all this happened and Kate Caldwell says, hey, what are we going to do without your live meetings? And so I started trying to sort of figure out how to do these online meetings, and had a lot of hiccups, just like I'm probably going to have a hiccup today trying to do a live and online meeting. But over time, you know, you begin to sort of figure out what works, what doesn't work. And I'm not saying what I've got right now works, but it seems to be, based on some of the surveys, it seems to be connecting community. And the cool thing is, the thing that I love is I'm starting to get older adults that are coming to these online discussions that we're doing. You know, I can't tell you how many providers are sort of like, can I invite my clients to the home sharing thing that you got tomorrow? That's one that I got a lot of requests on. So I'm really excited about that, because, you know, one of the things that this group did was partner with Reston for a Lifetime, the village here in Reston, because one of the things we were saying is, we got to get more older adults to the table here in the dialogue in what we're doing. You know, they're the end consumers. The more we talk to them, the more we engage with them, the better. So here's, I just did this morning, literally. This is kind of what happened in my world is that since this started, we've done 119 events. We've got about 159 is our average total registration. That's dropping now, and I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. Total attendance in this last year is almost 19,000 people have been attending these events. And then this is what's scary to me is that I send out 400% more emails than I did before COVID. 2 million in the last year, 31% of those get opened. This is good for everybody to know. Most industries are very mobile centric, okay? Ours is not. We are desktop users. 74% of the people open our emails on desktops. That doesn't happen anywhere. Like some of you guys know, I have a paddleboard business here in Reston. I think 85% of the people that open my emails for the paddleboarding are doing it on their phone. So one of the things when you are designing your websites and when you're, you know, designing things, just think about that, because, you know, you're going to hire some hotshot IT company that's going to be like, everything's mobile. And it's sort of like, hey, give Gurney a call. He's got some different data, and we can focus on the website and just make sure that our website is mobile friendly. I broke down the 119 events into a bunch of different categories, and I'm going to try to break them down to some more or subcategories. But the topics that we talk about are ageism. We have these expert panels, marketing masterminds, meet the professionals. You guys have probably seen, we're trying every month to introduce you to 3 new elder law attorneys, care managers, move managers, and daily money managers. We've done some pure networking events, and we've done some open discussions. And one of my favorite that is kind of new is we're trying to do discussions on a regular basis on how do you make your home safe and accessible? How do you remodel your home to be safe and accessible? And lastly, probably one of the most, or not lastly, one of the things that's the most popular are topics on technology and innovation. So like today, our discussion is with Second Wind Dreams. That's the company that does the virtual dementia tour. And I think it's kind of cool that we're able to sit there and chat with the founders and CEOs of these companies and kind of brainstorm, you know, what they're offering and think about, you know, is this something that could be helpful to my clients? Or are there some things that they're doing that I could be doing in my company? And lastly, we're also going to try to do on a monthly basis, almost like a virtual job fair. I've got a new career center that's going to be coming up in the next month or so. And I really want to try to help you guys connect with good candidates. And I know everybody in the room loves their job and they're not looking for another one. So we're just going to connect you with new candidates. You're not going to ever look for a new job, but they'll be on this job board. Okay. You guys aren't laughing at my jokes today. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's a little bit about I'm going to tell you a little bit about some things that I've observed with online meetings. Okay. Is that what I was saying is you probably are noticing that your online meeting attendance is going down a little bit. Although if you have a topic that's appealing to a broad audience, you might see that it goes up a bit. But what I've sort of seen is that our audience numbers, our registration numbers are going down, but the people that are showing up for a specific topic, they really want to be there. And the conversation is way better than the 300 attendee events that we did early on. So like one of the eye openers for me is we did a thing, Ask the Audiologist, and I did it at the last minute, and we only had, there was 40 people, which, you know, I mean, it's not a bad turnout, but it's definitely not what my normal turnout. So I was all bummed out. I was like, oh geez, it's a low turnout. I hope this is okay. I was already trying to come up with excuses for what we're going to do if I have to turn this off early. And holy cow, I think all 40 people asked a question of the audiologist. And so it's made me kind of realize it's okay to have 5 or 6 people at an online discussion if those 5 or 6 people really want to be there, you know? And so thinking about the content that you're delivering on your topics is really important, and don't get too stressed out about numbers. The thing that I really like about the idea of us, and I really hope we can crack the code on doing online and digital together, is right back there, because I was used to, okay, I'm having this event, I want a ton of people there, you know, so now I'm getting food for 100 people, which is expensive, you know. It makes sense if we can do events for 20 or 30 people and then have another 20 or 30 that are online. It saves all of our budgets, and some of us are going to need to save our budgets to get out of this hole that COVID put in the budget thing. Okay. So I know you guys can't see this, and that's okay. I'm going to read it to you. So this is what people always like to hear when I do these talks is, where are the new communities at? And just so you know, this is a new table that we're going to include in the next issue of Sourcebook that sort of shows the new developments. And what I'm calling a new development is something that was built in 2019 and beyond. And so I'll just kind of go down the list. In Woodbridge, so this is for Virginia. In Woodbridge, we've got Acclaim at Belmont Bay. It's an independent living community that's down there. it's been around for a while, but Brandywine at Living in Alexandria, and now Brandywine has a new property that's in Potomac, Maryland. So there's 2 Brandywine properties in the DC area. I think Carolyn's here. Brightview at Fair Oaks. Yeah, that's a new one. Okay, Capitol Ridge Gracious Retirement Living. If you guys have been to Hassler Heights in Leesburg, they have a new property that just opened in Bristow, Virginia, in Manassas. And Evermore Senior Living in Lake Ridge, that's a small assisted and memory care community. There's a new community that just opened in Vienna called Greenbrier Assisted Living. It's a residential senior community, so it's the home that's converted into a senior living community. Heritage Village, I think that was in 2019, which is right outside the gates of Heritage Hunt, and that's something that I wanted to throw out when I talk about this. One thing that we're doing right now at Sourcebook is we are getting the names and addresses of everybody that lives in an active adult community in the Washington area. And we're mailing them a special edition of Sourcebook, because active adult communities, which are oftentimes referred to as gray ghettos because they don't have any healthcare services, when people move in, they're being sold the fountain of youth. Like if you talk to somebody who moves to an active adult community and they ask, well, what happens if I need healthcare? It's like, you don't need that. Come on, we got a golf course, So one of the things that we want to do is sort of, you guys have heard me use the analogy Trojan horse. It's sort of like the residents who buy into active adult communities don't want to hear anything that we have to offer, okay? But we've got to disguise it in a Trojan horse so that when somebody's husband falls and breaks his hip, they know who to call, okay? So that's an initiative that I'm really going to be working on this year. So you got Hassler Heights and Ashburn, Hunters Woods at Trails Edge right here, yay, and remember we were, it wasn't too long ago, we were across the street over in the sales center. Lansdowne Heights, where Sandra was working, which is right next to Hassler Heights. And that's another cool thing that we're seeing a lot of, is where senior living communities are clustered together. That's not a bad thing, okay? And Legacy Ridge, that's in Gainesville, smaller community. Sister community to this property is the residents at Colvin Run, and that's going to be in Great Falls. So that's another one that's coming down the pike. Renaissance Assisted Living in Annandale. Weren't you there too? Man, she's a startup queen, isn't she? Okay. I have Sunrise at Silas Burke on this list, but I also have Sunrise at Fairfax, because that's the one right outside the gates of the Virginian, which is going through a major remodeling. But that Sunrise at Fairfax is reopening. It's been under redevelopment. Got a bunch of people here today from the Kensington Reston. Hey guys, congrats on opening up. That's fantastic. There's Watermark Senior Living has 3 new properties in this area. One is the Landing in Alexandria, the Providence in Fairfax, and then there's another one in Potomac, Maryland. And Watermark, just so you guys know, is part of the Washington House. They own the Washington House in Alexandria. But what's interesting is these 3 properties are a partnership between Watermark and another company. So it just makes it even more confusing. Talk about a game board that's been flipped upside down. And we've got Andrew here from Tribute 1 Loudon. We've got Tribute at the Glen. Those are our newer properties. And last on the list is a property in Warrenton called White Springs. So that's Virginia. In Maryland, there's even more new properties. And did I miss that? You've got a new one coming up too. Oh, South Riding. And what's the name of that? Okay, Waltonwood South Riding, and we got Waltonwood here. That's when was Waltonwood built? Okay, 3 years ago. So I'll make sure they're on the list too. So Okay, well, I'll add it to the list there, so. Oh, that's right, yeah, why didn't I have that on the list? Okay, good, see, this is fantastic, we're having this conversation. So, yeah. I said 2019. Yeah. And I've tried to put their open date on there, and then in Maryland and DC, there's a few that are coming around. A lot of you guys are familiar with Great Falls Assisted Living, and Artis is opening one in Potomac. I mentioned the Brandywine. There's a bunch of Brightviews that are relatively new, and then several new companies along with Tribute that are, popping up in the market. So now this is, and some of you guys are living this firsthand. It's sort of like, okay, remember before COVID, how exciting it was that we had all these new senior living properties coming into the market. Oh man, this is really exciting. And then COVID hits and it's like, oh no, I'm going back to the headlines. Again, remember, guys, and I'm not saying this to be disparaging, the public thinks we're all nursing homes. So it just makes it that much harder to get to our occupancy levels because of the public perception. So we got to be creative, but there's a benefit that I've seen in the conversations I've been having with our readers of this sort of like being pent up at home and isolated and not being able to move is that I feel like it's enabled people to reflect on, okay, maybe it's not a bad thing for me to tour a few senior living communities. Maybe it's not a bad thing for me to potentially, if I am in quarantine, to be quarantined in a building where people care about me and stuff like that. And guys, you all know me. I am firmly on both sides of the fence, aging in place and senior housing. I'm about personal choice, and that's what we want to present to our customers. And so don't feel like when I'm talking about senior housing that it doesn't mean that I don't advocate for aging in place. And so I'm pretty much done, okay? But as you can see, I got the pieces all lined up nice and neat. Just like we're seated, nice and neat. I feel like we are coming out of the fog, and I'm excited that we're here. But most of you guys know me. What gets me excited is that when the game board is flipped upside down, I like putting the pieces in different places, and I like hearing your stories about it and your challenges and brainstorming with you on ways that we can create the new playing field that ultimately will make life better for older adults, their loved ones, and for us in the professional community. So, yeah.
One of the things you didn't add as far as one of the strengths that we did in 2020 is that we all improved our writing skills.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
those emails were going out and, spell check caught some of the areas, but not all.
Very good. If you didn't hear that, it's the email communication improved our writing skills. Now, isn't it funny how we pay attention to those writing skills, and you're typing that you're using all the grammar, websites and stuff like that, and then your kid sends you a text with your kid that's going to an Ivy League college sends you a text with completely no grammar whatsoever. It's like, oh, Dad, you're just so old. It's like it's a different type of grammar. I will say, if you guys haven't utilized the plugin Grammarly, that's a wonderful one to try out. It's I've been amazed at how it corrects things and catches things. And you guys see my emails. 9 out of 10 times there's some pretty fatal errors in there, but I thank you for overlooking those. Any other questions, comments? Did what I have to say, did it resonate with you guys? Okay, good. It's always intimidating talking to groups of professionals because you guys are truly rock stars, and you guys know a lot more about this stuff than I do. Yeah.
It's always audience are lay people. They don't know what SNF and ALF, CCRC, and we automatically flip into that window. And it's really got to be about educating at every opportunity. It's got it right, right, you guys. So then we really need to take that extra 2 to 3 minutes because it shows respect.
Yeah.
And it doesn't put them on a plane where they're below us, because they feel intimidated already that they're working with healthcare personnel. And we got to make them feel comfortable. Right, guys?
Yeah. I know what it feels like. Hey, I'm talking to you. It's like, well, yeah. No. But I said early on in my talk, the language we use is so important, and it reiterates what you're saying. And it's things that you do, nobody's doing it on purpose. When you've got that caregiver that comes and says, hey there, young lady, they think that that's a term of endearment, but your audience may look at that as complete disrespect, because she's calling me young lady. It's like baby talk or, infantilization and stuff like that. And so playing around with that, and these are fun team building things that you can do with your staff is just, playing games like that. I mean, one of the things that you guys know in the audience that I did that opened my eyes to a lot of stuff is it was about 13 years ago, I moved in and lived temporarily in 5 different communities as a resident. And that really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I had blind spots on. But the thing that I will tell you, and this is where I basically, when I'm on the camp of communities like this, these are the best neighborhoods that I've ever lived in. Like when I would do these little moves and I would go back to my suburban neighborhood, it made me realize how isolated I was. It's awesome to be in an environment where there's people around you and that can take care of you or just chat with you. And I often said is that as much as I loved my neighbors, the 2 ladies that would bicker at each other together at the dining room table every day are probably better friends than me and my next door neighbor. So anyways, I'm going to shut up because I know there's some great food back there. And I want to thank you guys for having me again.
Thank you very much, Steve. That was great. Okay, I guess we'll keep the Zoom people. This is going to be more focused on in person, but you're all welcome to stay tuned. So you may not remember how to do this, so I'm going to demonstrate. This is where you introduce yourself briefly to the rest of the people so they know who you are. So name, maybe position, company, what you do in about 2 or 3 words. Scott McGuire, always best care, private duty home care. So why don't we start with you, Dana?
Well, you could just pass the mic.
Yeah, we'll pass the mic. And
yeah, just pass the mic.
Great.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Dana Brickman, Waltonwood, Ashburn, Area Manager, Business Development.
Good morning, Sherry Reed with Hadley Home Care and Services. We do private duty, we have Medstack, CNAs, home health aides, and we cover all of Northern Virginia.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jasmine Sol. I work as well with Happy Home Care. I am the staffing coordinator, and we're not CNAs, like she said, and Medtrix, and yeah.
Good morning, everybody. This is Alejandra. I'm also a staffing coordinator for Happy Home Care and Services, and I work with them too.
Hi, everybody. My name is Andy Riley. I'm over at the Tribute One Loudon. I'm their Community Relations Director.
Hi, I'm Crystal Tom, Director of Admissions and Marketing at Tall Oaks Assisted Living here in Reston.
Hi, I'm Lynette Jacob, a social worker, and I work part-time at Pro Health Care, and I'm part-time retired. Always an applicant.
I'm David Posner with homecare.com and ShiftMed. We can staff in 2 hours or less.
How's it going? I'm Brad Whitaker with Capital City Nurses, previously Allegiance. I'm a home care specialist.
Good morning. I'm Tony Breda. I'm with a Family Tie. We're senior living consultants, and we help connect clients to your home care company, your assisted living, your independent living, or memory care. I also own a company called Homegrown Catering / the chef's cutting board, and we do meal replacements. So if you're hungry and you're tired of cooking, give me a call.
Good morning. My name is Michael San Juan. I'm the Regional Marketing Specialist for Medstack. It's a long-term care specialty pharmacy that pre-sorts medication based on dosage, date, level, and time. And currently, we're actively involved in vaccinating Northern Virginia.
Morning, my name is Nick Bryan. I'm the new owner of Comfort Keepers, Northern Virginia, and we do personal care. I'm infinitely grateful to be here as I purchased the company right before pandemic started. So excited to meet all you in person.
Yes, good morning. I'm Sandra Fields, and I'm rethinking life.
You're still here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Smith, and I'm a senior aging life care manager with Healthcare Transition Partners.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Macha. I'm the insurance agent specializing. Come talk to me.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Carolyn Pennington. I'm a community sales director with Brightview Fair Oaks, a new independent assisted and memory care company opening this August in the Fair Oaks area of Fairfax.
Good morning, I'm Olivia Nicola. I am a community liaison at Heartland Hospice and Palliative Care. We're based out of Fairfax, Virginia. We serve all of Northern Virginia.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Bailey. I'm the executive director at the Kensington Reston, right up the road, assisted living and memory care.
I am Alexandra Zeidman, director of community relations at the Kensington Reston, assisted living and 2 levels of memory care.
Good morning, team. Don't you all feel like you're part of the same family? My name is Joanne Johnson. I'm a dementia practitioner and sales counselor from Harmony at Chantilly. Glad to see you in person.
Good morning, Ellen Pincus, Cavalier Home Health. We provide skilled home health in the areas of Fredericksburg through Leesburg out to Warrenton. We're a 5-star skilled agency. So I wanted to thank everybody for having us today. It's been very wonderful and nice to see everybody in person.
I'm Jacqueline Thomas. I'm with Encompass Home Health Area Manager. We service all of Northern Virginia, skilled services, any Medicare or non-Medicare needs.
Good morning, everybody. I am Eric Reynolds with Capital Caring Health. We do primary care at home, palliative care, and hospice all throughout Northern Virginia, DC, and Montgomery County.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Clearfield with Horizons Healthcare. We are a 5-star home health agency covering ground in Fairfax, Prince William, top tier in Stafford County. And I'd like to present to you a friend and gentleman, Alan Waugh.
Why do I have to go after you? Alan, Beverly Hills Living, residential care. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Sherry Burke here at Hunters Woods at Trails Edge, Community Relations Director. And if anyone's interested in a tour after, let me know, let the team know. Thanks for coming.
Hi, I'm Parween. I'm here at Hunters Woods at Trails Edge, and I'm Community Relations Director, primarily on the outside role.
Hi, Ashley James with Hunters Woods at Trails Edge as well. I'm the Community Leasing Director.
Eduardo Rivas. And then I'm going to turn it back to Scott. Did we miss anyone?
Anyone else?
I already went, but Sissy Nickel, Executive Operations Officer for Hunters Woods at Trails Edge.
Thank you very much. Thanks again.